What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, British superstar, former super middleweight world champion, called the Cobra Frach. He has an interesting take when it comes to four-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is the unified WBC, WBA, WBO, Ring Magazine, super middleweight world champion superstar boxer. With that said, Carl Froch, he witnessed his fellow countryman and former two-division undefeated world champion who was currently the WBO reigning super middleweight world champion, Billy Joe Saunders, take on Canelo Alvarez, in which Canelo Alvarez, he stopped Billy Joe Saunders in the 8th round of their fight, broke his eye socket, broke his jaw as well. Billy Joe Saunders was unable to continue with the fight. With that said, Carl Froch has now witnessed Canelo Alvarez, walk right through a few of his fellow countrymen champions. He did so against former WBA super middleweight undefeated British superstar world champion Callum Smith, and then he did so against Billy Joe Saunders, Avni Yildirim. So he's making a living out of doing this, Canelo Alvarez. So Carl Froch, when asked, who does he believe will be the man to stop the hype train with Canelo Alvarez, okay? And he says, is it going to be his September showdown, Mexican Independence Day weekend showdown with undefeated IBF super middleweight world champion superstar boxer Caleb Sweet Hands Plant? And Carl Froch, he says he don't believe that Caleb Plant is the man to stop the Canelo Alvarez hype train. He then pointed to none other than undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terrence Bud Crawford. He says Terrence Crawford is the man for the job. Terrence Crawford is the man that we need to stop the Canelo Alvarez hype train. He says, unfortunately for us, Terrence Crawford is fighting in a smaller weight class at 147. He says, but Terrence Crawford, he is the man that's closest to legendary, iconic, retired Hall of Famer, undefeated, 50-0, the man known as Money, Floyd Money Mayweather, turned promoter and CEO of Mayweather Promotions, the last man to defeat Saul Canelo Alvarez, and he did so by defeating Canelo Alvarez nearly every single round in their fight, if not every single round, and walking away. And Carl Froch, he says that there's a lot of similarities between Terrence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather. Now, Terrence Crawford obviously is not Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is a defensive genius, defensive wizard. Floyd Mayweather was born and bred in the sport of boxing. Floyd Mayweather reflexes, his gifts, was bar none. Arguably the greatest fighter in the history of the sport of boxing. So with that said, Floyd Mayweather stands at 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach. Terrence Crawford stands at 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. And the movement and the slick style of Floyd Mayweather is what gave Canelo Alvarez tons and tons of trouble. He made Canelo Alvarez miss in a phone booth. Now, I know a lot of people will point to Terrence Crawford's last few fights, and they'll say, well, Terrence Crawford gets hit a lot. He got buzzed by Yuriorkis Gamboa. He got buzzed by Egis Kavalauskas 2 fights prior. We know that Kell Brook was beating him with his jab until he made the adjustment. The thing is, Terrence Crawford has the ability to make the necessary adjustments. He can switch from southpaw to orthodox fluidly. He can transition from offense to defense fluidly. Okay, Terrence Crawford is a wizard in the boxing ring. Okay, he fights sometimes down to the level of his opponents, giving them opportunities in fights that they normally should not have. But when he fights guys like Victor Postol or guys like Jose Benavidez Jr. that have very long arms, have power, and can box, well, Terrence Crawford, he doesn't take as many chances, and he's more so disciplined on the defensive end. He's a great counterpuncher, and like I said, he could switch from southpaw to orthodox. Very versatile, and has power in both hands. A very good, if not great, counterpuncher, okay? Terrence Crawford can switch levels. He knows how to judge distance. He can control the pace of the fight. Terrence Crawford, 37 wins, no losses, 28 wins by way of knockout. 33 years of age. Like I said, he stands at 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. He has the ability, according to Kyle Froch, to beat Canelo Alvarez. Ironically enough, I've been saying, and I even said to Team Crawford, that I believe that Terence Crawford has the skill set to defeat Canelo Alvarez. I stated that I believe that Terence Crawford's versatility, his arm reach, his power in both hands will get Canelo Alvarez respect. Canelo Alvarez won't just be walking, bowling forward and trying to walk him down. Terence Crawford has fleet-footed. He's fleet-footed. He's taller than Canelo Alvarez. He has longer arms than Canelo Alvarez. He can match him in power. Well, ultimately, he can match him in the athletic ability and the ring IQ, okay? Terence Crawford has a very, very high ring IQ. And the fact that he can switch from orthodox to southpaw, giving Canelo Alvarez multiple different looks and different angles, that would bother Canelo Alvarez. That would make Canelo Alvarez hesitant, okay? We saw at times Billy Joe Saunders' southpaw stance was giving Canelo Alvarez trouble, but he just didn't have power in that left hand. Terence Crawford has a lot of power in his left hand, okay? And he's very accurate, and he has a high ring IQ. He's not going to waste punches. Canelo Alvarez, 56 wins, 1 loss, 2 draws, 38 wins by way of knockout. That 1 loss coming at the hands of Floyd Mayweather. But another style that bothered Canelo Alvarez was southpaw, slick boxer Erislandy Lara, who was very comparable to Terence Crawford at 5'9" with a 75-inch arm reach. Terence Crawford is 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. But the difference is Terence Crawford has more power in his right hand as much as he does in his left hand. Erislandy Lara has power in his left hand, not so much in his right hand, okay? Terence Crawford is more slick on the inside. He can make you miss in a phone booth. Erislandy is a slick boxer, but he utilized the ring a little too much, okay? And so Erislandy Lara, he gave Canelo Alvarez 5'8" with a 70-inch arm reach, okay? He's really 5'7" with a 70 to 69-inch arm reach. Terence Crawford will have an extinct arm reach advantage, and the slick boxing ability and the power in both hands and the ability to switch from southpaw to orthodox would give Canelo Alvarez a lot of trouble. I was one who stated that I believe that if Canelo Alvarez fought Terence Crawford has the ability to beat Canelo Alvarez because he'll stay disciplined for 12 rounds against Canelo Alvarez. His jab, from if the jab's not working like we saw against Kell Brook is a bigger guy than Canelo Alvarez, about the same. Kell Brook is 5'9" with a 71-inch arm reach, okay? But he's a big, strong guy. His jab was giving Terence Crawford, a little bit of trouble in the beginning, but once Terence Crawford made the adjustments to the timing and that he had to switch to, because he initially started off the fight in his orthodox stance, and he switched to his southpaw stance, and that was all she wrote for Kell Brook. Now, I know people are going to say, oh, you're comparing Kell Brook to Canelo Alvarez. No, I'm comparing the situation. I'm comparing the fact that Terence Crawford made an adjustment to what Kell Brook was doing great. He made an adjustment to Jose Benavidez Jr.'s very, very long arms, tall frame. He made an adjustment to his arm reach, to the distance with Jose Benavidez Jr., okay? He's been in the ring with bigger guys for the majority of his career, okay? Terence Crawford, he knows how to make the adjustments, when needed, okay? And a lot of people say, well, he's chinny, okay? He was shown he was hurt by Gamboa. He was hurt by Igor Kavaliauskas. Well, he gave them opportunities that he would not give Canelo Alvarez, okay? Now, this is not to say that Canelo Alvarez couldn't win the fight against Terence Crawford, because obviously he can, but the fact remains is that he has the skill set, Terence Crawford, to give Canelo Alvarez problems, okay? This is something I've been saying, and now Carl Froch is saying the same thing. He says that we would need Terence Crawford to come up and defeat Canelo Alvarez. He believes that he's the closest thing to Floyd Mayweather. His versatility, would give Canelo Alvarez tons and tons of problems. Not to mention that the fact that Terence Crawford, he has a lot of power in both hands because he's ambidextrous, okay? He can fight from orthodox and southpaw. He's going to make Canelo Alvarez respect him. He'll freeze Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is a thinker in the ring, okay? He's not a bull in the china shop. He's a thinker in the ring. His high ring IQ, his counterpunch ability is what gets him over in fights. We saw that the boxing ability, the quickness, and the shiftiness of a guy that's not even that shifty on his feet, but has very, very fast hands. In Amir Khan, he was giving Canelo Alvarez all types of problems in his fight because of his boxing ability, his arm reach, his hand speed, and his quickness. It gave Canelo Alvarez tons and tons of issues. Now, Canelo Alvarez ring IQ kicked in. He was able to counter Amir Khan, come over the top and knock out Amir Khan, who's known to be knocked out, and came up two weight classes, okay? It's the difference between Amir Khan and Terence Crawford is a huge difference. Terence Crawford is a far better boxer. He's far more complete. He has power in both hands. Amir Khan is very flashy with his hand speed, but he does not have much power. Terence Crawford has maybe not as fast hands as Amir Khan, but he has power in both hands, and he has very, very fast hands. So just like I said, I believe that Terence Crawford could defeat Canelo Alvarez. So does Carl Froch. But obviously, we have to see it play out. But make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue, Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Hey, this is Ebony Bridges, Blonde Bomber, and you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.